CIT 1121, Module 1, Submodule 6, 7, 8, and 9. We'll go ahead and knock the rest of them out here. 6 starts and talks about reliable networks, and they're going to give you 4 cornerstones of things that you're looking for when you're building your infrastructure. So one of the things that you want to have is something called fault tolerance. Fault tolerance means this. It means if something breaks and it doesn't work the way it's normally supposed to, that you have a backup solution, and hopefully that backup solution will automatically get implemented when the first solution that's broken stops working, and you'll have fault tolerance. That keeps you from having to go to work at weird times. And it's always good to know when things go wrong, but it's also really good to have a backup plan that'll happen automatically so you don't have to get super stressed about fixing something that maybe could have brought an entire network down, but in fact just failed over to strategy B. The second bullet point they talk about in network architecture is something called scalability. Scalability just means this. Will this solution work with 2 computers? And if we scaled it out, if we made it a lot bigger, will it still work if we grow to 1,000 computers or 2,000 computers or 10,000 computers? Scalability. Will this system work as we get bigger and bigger? Because a lot of systems don't scale, and we're all familiar with systems that don't scale out correctly. This is something that works really good for our family, but when I tried to implement it for the entire town, it didn't work so good. It's not a scalable solution. Third bullet point, quality of service. Quality of service just means this. In basic networking terms, when you're passing data from point A to point B, the first amount of data that gets onto the system, onto the infrastructure, and gets passed along is going to be ahead of whatever gets put on after it. But if we could somehow categorize types of data and say this, if first in, first out is not necessarily the best path for everything that we want to do, we might want to take something like streaming video and streaming audio data and identify it and make sure that if there's a dead point or a blockage someplace, that streaming video and that streaming audio and the mission critical services could bypass those. They wouldn't have to wait in line with the regular data. So kind of the ability to set a hierarchical standard for the types of data that you're passing across your converged network that we talked about in the last slide. And then the fourth thing is security. If you can't keep your information secure and somebody doesn't like you or doesn't want you to be excelling in the data world, then that can be a problem. So you need to make sure that your information and your systems are secure. So if anybody does mean you harm, they can't necessarily get to you, right? So that's kind of a fourth item in that network architecture. So fault tolerance, we just talked about this. And this is a nice little slide and just shows, hey, these guys have 2 connections to the internet. Genius, right? So you got your main connection to the internet, and if that one fails over, you got your other connection to the internet. The end users, they have no idea what's going on. So even if you had a failure like this, you wouldn't necessarily have to come directly to work. You could stop and get coffee, maybe go have breakfast, show up whenever you feel like it, fix the main problem, get it back online. The end users are no worse for wear. Scalability, as we said, just setting your network so they can expand quickly and easily without any problems. Scale. Quality service, we talked about this, hierarchically setting the different types of traffic so that certain types of traffic might pass through the systems with less impedance than others. No big deal. And network security, like I said, if you can't keep your stuff secure from people that don't like you, you're going to have a lot of problems with the devices that are going to be dropping out, right? So that's that section. Let's take a look at network trends. This is only going to take a second. And this just talks about network trends or recent trends. And one of the recent trends is bringing your own device. And that just means, oh yeah, everyone's got their own system. Like right now, I'm stuck in my house doing this video. I should be doing it at school, but I can't. So I'm using my own device. This is my laptop that I purchased. So I'm doing my work on my own device. No big deal there. And I think the next slide, the other one's online collaboration. And we're not doing it right now, but the Zoom calls and the Discord calls and the Blackboard, Collaborate, all those products, online collaboration, video communications, same deal, and then cloud computing. And the cloud computing is kind of a big deal for, I'm just going to bop through these kind of fast. Cloud computing, kind of a big deal for this class, but the basic idea is this, is that cloud computing, we can, instead of buying our own servers, we can go find a company like Microsoft or Amazon mainly that has a whole bunch of computers already, and they have space that they want to sell us, and they'll go ahead and sell us some space on their systems, and then they'll make sure that we are always up and running. So you're kind of just putting your all of your information into a system that has professionals running it. It's an excellent career path for everyone that's getting into CCNA right now. Go from this, go into virtualization, go into cloud computing, go into Amazon Web Services, things of that nature. Lots of jobs in those areas at this moment. So good stuff on that. Trends in the home, and this is, all of our devices are getting connected. Our cars are connecting to our homes, and you can set it up where, you can turn the lights on from your car, and you can use your smartphone to, I don't know, Bluetooth and listen to radio on the phone. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff you can do now that's being developed as far as smart lighting. Power line networking, something I've seen and heard about for, the better part of 20 years. I've seen people implement it correctly and properly, and really, in most cases, that's not how things go down. The power line networking is not it's not a preferred method. It is a method so you wouldn't have to run cables. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work that well across circuits, and there's some problems with it. But I hope the power line networking people don't get a hold of this video and start yelling at me, telling me that works awesome. But that's a thing. And wireless broadband is another solution. So your 4G, your 5G solutions. I'll give you an example. You end up in a location where, for whatever reason, you can't get a physical wire into the building. The landlord won't let you drill and place the wire in. There's overhead restrictions where trucks go through. Who knows? You could get a last mile wireless broadband service, and they can pass you some really, really great speeds for just a low cost. Really great solutions, wireless broadband. 1.8 gets into network security, and it just kind of mentions, security threats. As far as security threats go, it could be somebody that's trying to knock on the door from the outside. Maybe they're doing IP scans, and then they're doing port scans, and they're looking for services that have insecurities, and they're attacking those from the outside, looking for open ports that are associated with services that have vulnerabilities. Or it could be that they're going to send a phony email to somebody that works inside of your organization, and then they're going to click on that, and then that's going to start opening things up, and then there'll be an internal threat. So you just need to be aware of those two things. Not a huge big deal. It does mention some of the types of external threats versus internal threats. Be aware. And you do want to do a couple of things, firewalling things. We haven't even talked about ports or IP addresses yet, so kind of useless to talk a lot about firewalling right now. But firewalling is just a method of identifying traffic as being, this is being normal traffic, or this might be something that's a little bit abnormal. We might want to look into it a little bit deeper. And there's all kinds of intrusion prevention and detection systems that you can purchase. And then the other thing, intrusion prevention and detection for desktops, we just call that antivirus software, anti-spyware. I'm sure everyone has used some of those things. This mentions some of the technologies that you get into when you get into 1123, as far as access control lists and controlling traffic based on source and destination IP address or type of traffic by port. Intrusion prevention systems, fine. VPN systems, where we can hide our data as we pass across someone else's solution. I'm sure everyone's used a VPN. In fact, even my kids were very interested in VPNs because I had always had a VPN available for work, just in case I needed a secure solution for going to my banking site or whatever. And my kids decided, I had some open licenses, and they thought it was really cool because they could then use the VPN and then log into Canada and then watch the TV shows that they liked on Netflix with Canadian Netflix as opposed to American Netflix. I hope I don't get in any trouble for telling you guys that, but I was amazed that it actually worked, but it does actually work. All right, last section, the IT professional. This is just getting into the idea behind Cisco being a solutions provider for information technology. They offer all kinds of different certifications. The course that you're in is set for CCNA, which is the lowest level of certification they have. But even though it's the lowest level, it's still kind of hard to do. So it's not a bad certification to get. And it does show competence in the arena of information technology, specifically in a networking background. So keep that in mind, and you can look through this, and they have all kinds of badges and certs that you can get, and it changes all the time. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think that really takes us through the end of Module 1.